Hey guys, thank you for joining us for our first episode of Visionaries. Here, our goal is to interview local entrepreneurs who have found ways to combine a successful business and a balanced life. What we're looking for here is nuances and tips that we can use along the way to make our businesses and lives better. This episode is no exception because Joe Palma has an impactful story that both Dr. Kabir and I walked away inspired by. It's amazing. So I think you're going to enjoy it. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comments below. If you feel the need, you can reach us by email at collab, COLLAB, at visionaries.com. Thank you and enjoy. We have Joe Palma with us today. Dr. Kabir is going to be helping me through this interview. I want to see what we can learn from Joe today. Some of the things I can share about him to get us going is he is the business owner at Palma Entertainment, business manager and lead singer at Style and Stereo. He's a CEO at Silver Bloomington, songwriter for Sistine, and a civil engineer technician at the city of Bloomington. He hails from Los Angeles. He went to Mountain View High. He studied at California State University, and he lives in Bloomington, Illinois now, married to Elizabeth Palma. He's a dedicated family man, ambitious entrepreneur, talented entertainer. I know this from personal experience, and an advocate for sobriety. And just last week at this time, he turned 38 years old. Happy birthday, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Youngster.
So it's obvious with all of that in your description, you are a busy guy. And, with all that going on and the, I guess, emphasis that you put on sobriety, I'd like to get a flavor, how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so that's kind of a broad question, and I don't know how to answer that in under 5 minutes, but I'll try.
Sure,
man. So I can go back to when I was a young teen, and what life kind of looked like. I didn't really have any great I'd say foundational mentors in my life back then when I was younger. My dad was a hardworking man. He was a truck driver. My mom was a stay-at-home housewife, house mom, whatever you would call that. They did the best they could. There was a total of 6 of us, 3 older than myself. And then my father came in, so they have a different father, the 3 older ones. And then my father and my mother met and had the last 3.
Sure.
So I was really brought up close with the last 3, and the older 3 sort of acted as, we never saw each other as stepbrothers. We were always just kind of tight in that.
Yeah.
My oldest brother, Sam, he kind of was the star role of the family. He went to college and he bought his first Jeep Wrangler. He was 20, 21 or something. And so he was just like that role model for us growing up. And I thank God that I had him in my life then, because I really took after him. He actually became a teacher, so he was headed down that route of education. So that's early on. That's really what I wanted to do. So I got wrapped up in music. My dad was an insane guitar player,
That's cool.
among the likes of Eddie Van Halen and
Oh,
Joe
wow.
Patriani. So he played he shredded.
That's awesome.
So my dad struggled with addiction early on, and alcohol and drugs and you name it. He was a rock and roller back in the day, so kind of comes with the job,
Right.
unfortunately sometimes. So he really calmed down. I think he had quit kind of cold turkey when we were younger for about 15 years, and then he started up again after I moved out of the house, and was trying to find my own way through music. And we started bands, garage bands growing up, and We actually got signed to a record label early on. I was like 22, 23. So we were turning small tours up and down the coast, and um, just trying to make a name for ourselves. That's the band Sistine that you had mentioned earlier.
Oh, nice.
We were songwriting and just having a great time. All the while, I met my current wife in high school, so she's kind of been there through the whole time. So that was kind of the early on, and then we had a child. I was 25, and this was like right at the beginnings of my downfall with everything, and the band and the alcohol and the drugs, and then Miles comes along, and so this was kind of like where everything sped up pretty quickly. Miles was born. I had a brief moment of sobriety then, just knowing that I was about to bear a child, or my wife was, and I needed to get serious. So
Great name, by the way.
yeah, thank you. So kind of fast forward quickly through all that. My dad passed away. Right, Miles was 8 months, so that was pretty traumatic. It was kind of abrupt. We ended up finding out it was through a cocaine overdose. We had no idea he was indulging in this activity, and that was tragic in and of itself, the way it all went down. And then a few months later, we found out we were pregnant with our second, Bella. I'm sorry, Luna. So that kind of steamrolled over that whole thing. So life was coming right at me full force, and I wasn't ready. you know. So I really dove deeper and deeper into this hole I would dig, getting heavily involved in drugs, methamphetamines and cocaine, and all sorts of drugs and alcohol.
Sure.
And through this time, I was grieving. I was lost, and I had no direction. All I wanted to do was just have fun and sort of mask over all the hurt and anger I felt in my heart. So that kind of really crumbled and burnt to the ground, that whole thing I was building with Liz and the kids. I found myself pretty much homeless at the end of my rope. I was ready for death. I was pretty much like, all right, this is it. There's no way out of this. I remember being in the apartment we were renting. The water had got shut off. I sent them to her sister's house. I was like, you guys can't stay here anymore. This is about to go down. So they left. And I remember just being in this mess of a situation I was in. The house was a mess. And I felt like people were coming over, and other drug users, and just kind of using my house for the next couple of weeks as a trap house, really. And then my mother showed up like one day and was like, all right, you need help. It is time, it is time to get better. So I decided to follow her lead, and she was like an angel that just showed up at the door one day. And
nice. That's awesome.
I took her lead and checked into rehab in LA. I went to the Salvation Army rehab, and that was like the beginnings of my rehabilitation path. That was the last time though that I used. So I got clean and sober. I was about 7-8 months sober. Liz had moved to Bloomington. That's what brings us here.
Okay.
Through State Farm. So
all right.
She grabbed the 2 kids and got a nice opportunity with State Farm. They reload her and set her up. So I then I was really motivated to stay in my kid's life. And Liz and I were kind of broken up at this time.
Sure.
So I like I said, it's hard for me to kind of brush over this because it's all so imperative to the story. Moved out to Bloomington. Liz and I started rekindling back together. And then I had met this gentleman by the name of Scott Olbert, and he just kind of lifted me up. And things just started getting better, like really quickly. Got a job, life was great. I started working at, I think Image Air was the job I had early on. This is a little FBO at the airport.
Okay.
So life was just really good, and winter came, and then I relapsed. And that's kind of the theme, is like things get really good and you think you could use again. I thought I was like, all right, I'm good now. I can have a beer. So that was the last straw for Liz. She
All
ended
right,
up.
Joe, how much time had passed from when you were clean to the,
So I'm gonna say it was about a little under a year.
okay, okay,
That first go around.
okay.
So 7-8 months, I checked out of rehab and moved to Bloomington. So then it was another,
Okay.
it was another few months of that. So had the relapse with the alcohol, and then once Liz had decided we're done, again, that was again, I was like right back to where I had left off with the addiction. And you'll hear that in the theme of people's stories. It's like you get clean and sober and then you go use again, you're right back, if not worse, to where you left off. So I was there. I found myself making those types of friends again. Life sucked all over again. And if it hadn't been for those people I've met in Bloomington that have helped lift me up, gave me a chance. Fast forward to now, I've managed to really surrender to it all, get well. I've built a community around me that just fully supported everything I was doing. And I mean, it went from having somebody help me balance my checkbooks, paying bills for me because I couldn't handle it, to now I'm running my own business, expanding, scaling. So there's a lot in between that last part, but I want to move past to some of your other questions that may dive deeper into that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's huge, man. That is huge.
That is an awesomely inspiring story, Joe.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thanks. It's I look at it and I'm like, I can't believe it. The grace that God has kind of pushed at me, never ceased in seeking me, and
Yeah.
it's just been incredible. And
Well, yeah, one of the themes I hear in that is the group of people that you got around you when you needed help, and just how imperative that is to
it is, and it's it just takes one person to believe in you at that. When you're, sorry, I got a plane going by.
Oh, you're fine.
When you're hopeless, and I was thinking about this the other day, when you're hopeless and when you have zero hope for yourself, it just takes that one person to be hopeful for you and to lend a little bit of hope and belief that you are somebody and you can do it, you can pull through. And it's just, I as humans, I don't know if we can understand how impactful that is to really help that next person get through some of those dark times. And it's tough to be on that other end. I know, helping with some of the guys that I do in Sober Bloomington and stuff. It's like, second chances, third chances, fourth. It just takes that many chances sometimes for somebody to finally have a miracle, so.
Right. Well, and that's super powerful that you're sharing that even now, and not only then through your other venues such as Sober Bloomington. Is that something that you started?
Yeah. So I started Sober Bloomington, probably I was about year 3 in sobriety. And the way that kind of came about is, when we get this chance and we finally can say, all right, I've decided to remain clean and sober and I want to help. And that's really how we stay sober, is helping that next guy. And it just does so much for us too, helping. And it's just kind of a great relationship that you can gain by helping. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So we get that sort of fuel early on. A lot of the recovery community can vouch for this. Is one way we stay sober is by helping that next guy. So I took my story and kind of created a program, so to speak, with how I got sober. And there's all sorts of outlets to get clean and sober. To name a few. I you have Celebrate Recovery, you have Alcoholics Anonymous, you have all these online groups that are now sprouting out. So there's all sorts of ways. There isn't one right way. So what I did was I took my path and created a program out of it, and it consists of community. It consists of accountability, and really the core in it is work. When I when I had somebody give me a job when I was hopeless and helpless, that was huge for me. You know, they didn't look at all the records that I had, and they didn't hold that against me. They gave me a job. So Sober Bloomington, that's the core of it, is I make relationships with companies that are willing to give these types of men or women that chance. And it's kind of like that connection. I'm vouching for them. They don't ask no questions. They give them a job. So
That's
it's
amazing.
yeah,
That's
it's really cool.
amazing. Well, and then even what you're talking about with, there's other programs out there and there's multiple ways where people can find help. And one of the themes that I found that is so intriguing and part of this group is everybody has a niche and we all have our own audience. Like you might reach people that no one else would have actually gotten to. So
Absolutely.
that is amazing.
Yeah, the flounders, and I can navigate where employers really can't. I can take this guy out to a steak dinner and treat him with that love and just that purity that an employer can't do that to somebody. They can't get that in depth into somebody's life, and there's laws behind it all and stuff. But um, we can, even some of the rehabs can't navigate to where they can get personal with somebody and take them out to eat and to do all these types of things. And I'm just referencing one of the first guys we ran through the program. He had never had a steak dinner, and we Brian Fields and he helped me kind of start Sober Bloomington. Took him to a steak dinner. We had no idea, and he was just so grateful. He just, and it's something as simple as that, poured into him. And he now, we built out a section of Sober Bloomington where we're actually connecting them with apartments. So I made a couple of friends that have apartment buildings that will look past certain things in their records to where they can't get apartments on their own. That's how kind of jacked up our our system is. These guys are trying to get well. Here they are. They come out of rehab. They're clean and sober, and they can't get apartments. They can't survive.
Okay.
So we're helping fill that gap at a very low pace, but I think more and more just getting that awareness out there. So he's now, I think he's been in his apartment now for 2.5 years. He went from working at mechanical devices to upgrading, or whatever you want to call it. He got his dream job working at Chestnut Healthcare. So
Oh, wow.
helping people at Chestnut now. It's just, he's an amazing story through it all too. I'm so proud of him.
Oh man, that's amazing. And like apparently the gift keeps on giving.
It does.
And now he's giving.
Yeah, it does. It 100% does. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I didn't really even expect, I wasn't sure what we would get into, and that's a beautiful story, man.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited to share those wins, because so often we hear the really negative side of things and through media and all that stuff, but there is a lot of people helping people out there that don't, they don't come out and go on these types of shows and
Right.
and just boast, so to speak, but it's awareness, and it's getting people in tune with the types of struggles and accomplishments that we can make out here working together.
No, absolutely. That's what it's all about. And yeah, by all means, this is not boasting. This is about awareness. And just knowing that there are people. That's one of the things as I grew up, I was always told not to trust, things that sound too good to be true, or somebody that says that they want to help you, they're out to get you somehow. And I've come to find out there really are people like Dr. Kabir who really do want to help people.
Yeah.
It's a for real thing. And
one of the big things I had trouble with early on was accepting that grace, being from a mindset of I'm a, excuse my language, I'm a piece of crap, I'm a piece of junk. I've done this and this and this, and I've got all this shame built up. I don't deserve this. But when people are handing me things, handing me keys to their cars to go to work and back with no questions asked, handing me a job, feeding me and just pouring into me, this is too much. I had trouble accepting that grace. And I was actually going through counseling during that time. I was so grateful for it. And that really helped me realize that I was worth it. I was worth it. Just trust it and accept the grace that God has given me. So
Absolutely.
Joe. Oh, sorry, Marcus. Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, man, I love what you were talking about hope, because as a a wellness care doc, in this world of you know big pharma and overutilization of medications, and constantly trying to medicate things away. I always tell my clients and my patients that, what, I'm not a big fan of prescription medication, with the exception of one, and I call it hopium.
Uh,
that's a good one.
that's good.
Yeah, hopium. That's a
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Dole out as much hopium as you want, babe.
Yep. There's always hope as long as we're breathing, right?
Right.
There's always hope.
Well, I think you brought up a strong point, and that's you brought up counseling, and I think that is hugely important. Most people, there's a stigma. There's a stigma about taking care of yourself. There's a stigma about going to a chiropractor, and there's definitely
Mhm.
stigma about counseling. But we all can use the help. We can all use a little guidance. I think it's incredibly important, no matter what stage of life that we're in. So I applaud you for going to that level.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate you saying that. It's not widely accepted,
It's
and
not.
I was dealt some hopium, a ton of it, and I'm so grateful for it.
Nice.
Sweet.
Nice. You're gonna have to put a TM on that.
Right. I got the Arctic Asian thing going on, right, Marcus?
Nice.
One thing at a time.
So Joe, with that to where we've gotten to where you're at today, is there what's new and exciting for you today? What are you working on that's like really got you stoked?
Yeah, so I have a ton of things going on. One big thing that I feel like it super excites me is through COVID and the whole downtime we had, and there was a lot of thinking time, and I had propped up a wedding and event band, and when I started Palma Entertainment, being an entertainer from a couple of decades ago,
Mhm.
in the garage, I knew I wanted to create a band that is high level, professional, and that I can utilize within my business to play music. So I propped up with the help of my brother. My brother has actually moved out from LA, down here, and he's one of the Sober Bloomington success stories as well.
Oh, nice.
He came here 2.5 years ago, hopeless, helpless, and finally took my hand, and he had a really bad heroin addiction. So he's going to be celebrating 3 years sober with his own apartment and his job. He just got hired at Rivian.
Oh,
So he's a success story in itself. It's pretty
right.
awesome. He's the guitar player, and by him moving here, it really it allowed me to say, all right, I have help in this band that he can love the band to that level, and I could trust him to really help me propel this band to the next level. So through COVID, we were able to really rehearse and fine tune and create our model and business plan, and so we're booking weddings. It's awesome. It's so fun, and we're actually playing the Holiday Spectacular this year. So we got a feature. We're doing 2 Christmas songs in that show. It's
Where's that at?
it's at the BCPA, the Bloomington Center for Performing Arts,
Okay. Okay.
and it's the big annual Christmas show that they put on.
That's
So
awesome. Congrats.
yeah, that's pretty cool. And we're going to be actually writing and producing our own tracks, like dance songs that come out that we can utilize, and it's just fun. It is so fun, and I've really put all the chips into this sector of.
I can vouch for it. I mean, I've been to some of your shows. I've been to Rob
Yeah.
Dobbs when you're
Awesome.
belting out the Sinatra type music, and I've been
Yeah.
to the other bars, and your energy is amazing. The show you put on, and
Awesome.
I can vouch for the wedding part too, because we hired you next
Yes, you
September.
did.
Joe, I got a question. How do
Yeah.
you, yeah, I mean, what do you do? So for business owners out there, in your industry, every industry has its challenges when it comes to innovation and creativity and, just, keeping yourself known,
Yeah.
right, in circles. How in your industry, what do you do? How do you do that? How do you keep up with innovation and creativity so that way you're keeping yourself competitive?
Yeah. So, you know, in my industry, it's all about sort of face value. What you're seeing is what you're getting, and it's really our product is we sell time and a service of time. We sell an experience. So for me to get that experience, to always be next level, to make sure that those things that are important to us, like how we look, how we're dressed, how we show up, are our teeth brushed, are we putting on our best face? Did we comb our hair today? Are we ironed? Does our setup look nice? Are we at the cutting edge of technology with our equipment? So there's all those sort of factors that we want to stay on the top of our game that way. And then marketing, that's kind of an animal in and of itself. I think a lot of my business is word of mouth through those experiences. So if I provide a good show for somebody that brings 300 people to this wedding, I now then have the opportunity to market to these 300 people in a
Sure.
way that a lot of other business owners can't. So it's really each show that we put on is a chance to market ourselves, essentially.
Right. Awesome.
One of the things I notice in your shows, and I've heard it from the other entertainers, like the ones that open your shows, is they're so thankful to you, um,
Mm.
like you've brought them into an opportunity that they wouldn't have had before. Is that what's going on there? Is that something that you're helping promote other entertainers?
Yeah, so I love collaborating and getting musicians working. I felt like there's sort of this thing that's been happening these last few decades where bands, we're not great business people right off the bat. We're just we're like artists and we don't know how to manage ourselves. It's kind of that downfall of us that typically we'll do it for free
You love
if
it so
we
much.
got the opportunity. And I feel like that's exploited a little bit. And
Yeah.
unfortunately it kills my sort of my business when I come in and I say, hey, this is what we need to charge to be able to be successful. And then they're like, well, these guys will charge this much. So it's like it's a under under undersold art. So
Right.
bands have been getting $500 for the last 30 years a show. That's just $100 a piece.
Yep.
And it hasn't increased. It hasn't fluctuated with with the times. So I've come in to say, look, we are worth so much more. We bring a show that is totally worth it. Um, let alone you try to rent our equipment out. That's over what your base is asking. So I'm trying to come in to really give the musicians what they're worth, give them an enhanced pay structure to where they get compensated for their art, and that's kind of my angle with some of these shows. And I do appreciate the businesses in town supporting me through that, because I've had no pushback, and it's always been um, for some reason they've trusted me to bring a good show, and I do, and people like it, so it's cool.
You
We'll
do.
continue to do it as long as
You
they.
do bring a good show. And back to the doc's question. So whenever you're talking to your customers and you are embattled with that lower price structure that's been around for so long, I mean, is it basically the folks who have seen you and the quality of your show that accept it, or how do you get that sold?
Yeah, there's a couple of angles through that. One, it's marketing material, videos, and that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
I've really had to amp up this last year. and it is a word of mouth thing. So, and I've gotten to the point where I'm seeing people are afraid to buy a product that they have not experienced yet. So I think through time, as we're such a new product, that will kind of shift over. But I'm having to sort of reduce some services on this side to make it affordable.
Mhm.
And you, like I said, the marketing videos they do wonders. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
You can make it
Well,
like
I think a lot of, sorry, Marcus, I was going to say, I think a lot of business owners starting out, I've coached docs and chiropractors, and one of the biggest struggles they have is a self-worth, charging what you're worth,
Yep.
right? And the
Yep.
fear of, oh, if I charge too much, people aren't going to come see me. They're going to go somewhere else. So I need to, charge a bottom dollar. But a lot of it has to do with your own self-worth.
100%.
Yeah.
I that was one of you say that, and that's so true. Once I got to the point where, this is the price, it may be out of your budget, then there are a ton other DJs that you can go to, or entertainment companies.
Yep.
But
Absolutely.
this is the cost that is going to give you the best entertainment that you can put your dollars toward.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I heard something similar. I mean, a different kind of industry, but every day there's somebody buying a car, and some people want to afford a $400 car. The very same day, someone else is buying a $200,000 Lamborghini.
Exactly.
You get what you pay for,
Yeah.
and if you're willing to pay for it, it's out there.
Yep.
And you
Yep.
can also provide it as the entrepreneur. So
100%. And I find maybe I'm doing less shows a year, but they're higher quality,
quality.
and I'll take that.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So with all that, I mean, everything you got going on, I mean, it's really impressive. Obviously, to me, someone has to have a pretty strong life balance to be able to do that. What kind of, what kind of structure do you have in your life? Do you do that on purpose? Is there anything you do to keep balance between you and your family and your health and all
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's a good point, and something critical to talk about. I'd say early on, when I decided to go this route, so one thing I didn't kind of talk about was Liz moved away with the kids. While I got well and got better, I started repairing my life. We then rekindled, and she moved back, and then we got married, and life was unfolding as such. And right when she came back is kind of around the time I started the business. So there was a lot of moving pieces. My family's back together, so excited. I was working 2 jobs and starting a business. So there are sacrifices. When you start a business, there's going to be some sacrifices. And one of those was my time. So early on, it was, an agreement between Liz and I. Look, I'm going to be busy, and it's just going to be a sacrifice we're going to have to make. And then, some days were hard, some days were tough. I was missing things, and I missed a critical part of their time, but I knew this is something I had to do and something I wanted to do, and that was going to benefit our family later on. So I think for about 2 years, I was working 2 jobs and starting this business, and it was just this critical time in the beginnings of it, where one thing that was so important and we had multiple arguments on was our schedule. When our schedules were like not synced up, and she thought I was doing this one thing and I actually was doing this other, like that would just create this mess. And it took a few different types of platforms of like scheduling, like apps we tried all this stuff, where we finally settled on Google Calendar. And it's took some time to get used to that. And
Right.
Google Calendar always wasn't working properly too. Like she'd put something in that wasn't showing on my calendar, and I'd be like, I don't see it on my calendar. So we'd have these days to where
You are speaking my language right now, Joe. That's me and my wife all day, every day.
Dude, it's so critical to have a schedule when you're busy like that. To have it to get things. I mean, we tried the dry erase boards,
Yep.
notes, and finally we're at the point where our like she's really busy too. She's got her own story that, you know, where she may be a candidate for you to come on here, because she's got a whole the other side of it from that and this way, and how she's dealt with some demons too. And
That would be amazing. Yeah, I would love to have her on.
yeah, I mean, she's gone through some postpartum stuff, and you know, we had Bella, we had our third baby in recovery, and she's been a blessing to our life. She's 3 now, and she's amazing. So yeah, you say so now I try to always create moments of time with the family, because those are important. Like, we're out here in Gulf Shores right now, and I'm working from out here. Thank God I can do that. And
right.
These things are important to create these little nuggets of memories for them. And then another thing is overcommitting. I had a huge problem with overcommitting early on, and trying to keep that at bay, knowing I can't take on more than what I can is important. Early on, I was like, I'll do it. Yes, or I'll do it. I'll do 5 gigs in one day. Let's do it. And it's just, it would kill me. So now I'm to the point where I choose what I choose strategically what I'm going to get involved in.
And do you do that by feel, or do you have like a set, number of things on a, hey, I can limit, or?
There isn't much I turn down, I will say, because I built a company that has the ability to do a bunch of stuff at one time. So I have 3 DJs that work under me. I have a band manager that's very capable of doing other things.
Yeah.
And then I have like 10 other people that kind of just randomly do things for the company. I have a lighting design guy that is great at building things, and so we can do all sorts of cool stuff. It just depends on what the project is. So
very cool. Very cool. Let's see here. So with that said, actually, Doc came up with a great question. That with all this said, I mean, you've kind of touched on it and how you're avoiding it. Is there anything else you would add that you do to keep from getting into burnout?
Burnout mode. Yeah. So structure in my life is so important, having just that daily expectation of myself to pause in the morning, meditate and center myself in the morning. And it's so difficult because I have like an ADD personality. So I wake up and I'm gone. I'm like 100, 0 to 100 super fast. And just to calm myself down and say, all right, this is the meditation time for you. I have this app I use. It's called Encounters, and it does a 15-minute meditation. And that's been huge this past year to just get that email. It comes at I think 3 a.m. So I wake up at 4:45 every morning, and I do this 15-minute meditation, and I head to the gym. And I think exercise has really changed my life these past couple of years. When you go through something like addiction and then in recovery, we kind of I traded drugs for sugar and food almost. I was doing that. So I think I gained something like 65 pounds right after. And, it was obvious, and it is what it is. But, I started to feel like it was having health impacts on me, and high cholesterol. The doctor was saying some stuff about high cholesterol, and I was like, oh, this is, I got to get this under control. So joining the gym at Evolve Fitness has really changed my life. And I got that through DJing as well. So I started DJing their little black dress challenge that they had every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And Marcus, I think you did that challenge, didn't you?
I did. I actually won that year.
Yeah,
no kidding. Did you? Oh.
I actually did, but whenever I first moved into town, I was looking for a gym, and Evolve was just down the road. So I tried it for a couple of days,
Yeah.
Ended up going to a different gym, but yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it's super cool. I love it. I love the challenge every day. It's different, and the people there are just so motivated. It's like my kind of gym. Like you walk in, you're like, hey, what's up, guys? Let's go. Let's do this. It's 5:30 in the morning. Everybody's like, oh, what? Especially the newbies that come in. They're just like, who is this guy? I'm like, let's go. Let's do this. Let's get it. Let's go.
So, so I think, and you touched upon a good point. I mean, how critical, I know for me, I can't start my day without my morning routine.
Yeah.
Meditation, my visualization, prayer, exercise, yoga, whatever I do in the morning. And much like you, right? I get up at 4. And like I find myself getting up earlier because man, that morning time just sets the tone for the day so that you can be more effective, you can get more things done, you can spin more plates, and it doesn't derail you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I do miss, like, let's say I get a little illness or something that I'm sleeping in, or I have these excuses, I got a little sniffle, I'm not going to make it this morning. I can really tell those days just suck compared to the days that I'm centered and focused. So yeah, it's
absolutely. I love to hear that you're doing that. That's not something that many people talk about these days. I mean, in the circles that me and Dr. Kabir, us together talk about it, and a few other circles we talk about it. But I think it's bigger than people let on because we just don't talk about that kind of thing, and it's huge. It's a huge foundational part of our day.
Yeah, 100%.
Very good, very good. So with all that said, what's been, besides the maybe mentors or folks who've come along as angels in your life, what's been your inspiration? What's driven you to, the things that you're passionate about?
Man, I think just the whole idea of inspiring people, inspiring my family to, my son remembers some of the bad times that we used to have. So to see his eyes now and to see him look at me in this whole new way of life. He was 4 and 5 when I was at my worst, and to see him now is just, he's a huge inspiration to me. And the fact that Bella, she's never seen me, messed up or making super bad decisions. And I still make bad decisions. I'm not gonna say I'm perfect, but they're not those kind of decisions that are gonna derail, my whole life in one move. Yeah, it's really people inspire me. So being able to just give myself in any form or fashion is kind of that moves me and pushes me, drives me.
Well, I can see it. You can see it in your performance. I mean,
Thanks.
it's obvious. That's awesome.
And above all, God.
Right?
100%. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you kind of also mentioned the pandemic. How, you've had to obviously make some changes and do some things. How have you had to adjust, what you've been doing? It seems like maybe the entertainment piece came on with the pandemic. I'm not exactly sure on that timeline, but, what have you had to do to make adjustments? Because there's all the entrepreneurs, especially the small business guys, have had to make some major adjustments in this time. So
Yeah, it was definitely a shock initially. The whole calendar gets wiped out, and I'm having to give money back, and all that stuff was really scary. Fortunately, early on, I kind of had to make a decision. It was pull out, wind it down and pull out, and just kind of let it go, and be safe and run away from it, or run toward the idea that this will all get better, and by setting myself up and investing in this time, I could come out even stronger at the end of it. So I chose the later. I chose to go all in, 100%, 110%, I shall say. I threw all the chips in. And I was like, look, if I'm gonna do this, now's the time. It's sink or swim. So I started sprinting, and fortunately, I had other players that helped me, really envision and push forward. Like we were doing early on, we were doing nursing homes because that was like the only place we can find a gig, and
Wow.
they were free,
Yeah.
and they let us post outside of their windows, and we'd show up with 3 singers and a guitar player, and we do like our shows, and we did it kind of all over town, and it just did so much for us, and come to find out it was really helpful for them too. They couldn't leave their room, so we found a niche, and I'm getting gigs from that now, from those nursing homes. So it's pretty cool how that came around full circle.
Paid off, right?
Sure, kind of had to make a massive pivot, right?
Yeah, it was a pivot, a duck and weave, and
Yeah.
there was some crazy decisions that had to be made. I did have to, like, let some people off, so to speak, but my business model is one that I don't have any full-time employees. um One, we're a small enough operation to where it's gig based and independent contractors. That's kind of how I work it. So they understood, and they all have full-time jobs, so that really helped us and my business model survive. If it wasn't for that, if I had people relying on me to do that, and we didn't qualify for the PPP and all that stuff. So it's we were positioned in the best case scenario where I was able to just kind of simmer things down. I didn't have a huge overhead, and we just operated on a small case by case thing to where we can do some shows. Like we performed at Rob Dobb several times, and that helped keep the lights on. And some other smaller gigs that we did. So we kept going. If they wanted us, we were there.
I love what you said about running towards it. And I was actually just talking to a general manager of a corporation the other day. And that's one of their core tenets is, instead of hiding or acting like, shuffling off the problem, they run towards the problem. I thought that was huge.
Yeah. I feel like even personally, the way I used to live life was running 100% the other direction, and facing the monster, so to speak, that's in our brain ends up being a cuddly little teddy bear at the end of the day.
Yeah.
These big things that seem so scary, and wow, when you actually face those things, more often than not, they are accomplishable. They're small. They're non-issues, really. So there's always a way through it.
That is huge. That's not the first time I've heard that, and in a totally separate context. That's interesting, because it's almost word for word. That's amazing. Okay. So what are your plans for the future? I mean, obviously things are going great, and it doesn't sound like you need to bolt anything else onto your life, but do you have any plans, or what do you got going on?
Man, I think yeah, we've kind of set ourselves up to go full bore ahead. I really want to take this new entertainment group I have nationwide. That's kind of goal. So if we can, market ourselves and position ourselves to travel, that's really what we want to do. And just grow within the community, because I see Bloomington Normal as just it's just so beautiful, the way the city is set up, and the town with everybody, and all that what everybody does is just the collaborations. And my wife and I are involved in Rotary, and what that's done for us is allowed us to kind of do a community service piece to our family. My wife actually started a Bloomington Normal Family Rotary, so we have our kids involved, and we pick up trash on the Constitution Trail, and kind of just show that service above self is a key component to having a beautiful life. So
that's beautiful. That's one of the things that I would like to see us as a group do. I'm sorry, Doc.
No, I said, well said. Service above self. It's a great motto.
Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, I'd actually seen that she won an award for Rotary. Is that right? Your wife?
Uh, my wife, yeah, she was Rotarian of the Year.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Congrats.
which is crazy. You know, she's she's been graced with a lot of grace. You know, people in the community just have believed in her, and one big supporter of hers is Julie Dobsky, and she was the governor a couple years ago, and Liz is her personal assistant. So
Oh, very cool.
she really brought her up the ranks and pulled her through. And Liz is she's inspiring in and of herself. So she was a 20 under 40 leader of distinction this year, and so she's rocking and rolling.
Impressive. I'd love to hear more about that story.
Yeah, yeah.
So another one of the great questions, and not trying to steal your thunder,
No.
but what piece of advice would you give to those who want to start their own business? Who want to be entrepreneurs? What kind of, I mean, you've already said so many inspiring words, but what piece of advice would you give somebody that wants to get started?
You know, I'd say if I was faced next to myself, 5 years ago when I began this adventure, I think I would tell myself, take fearless risks, and and if you start something, finish it. That's a huge one, and really listening to your heart. Listening to those inner voices that are telling you which way to go. Have faith in those decisions, but taking risks would be above all. Everything we do in business is a risk, so don't be afraid to take those risks, and you win some, you lose some. So
Absolutely. I mean, and that brings up a point that I think those who aren't in business don't understand, or have learned otherwise. But from what I gather from all entrepreneurs, that failure is just part of the game. It's some are up, some are down. Where others see, oh, he failed, he went bankrupt. He doesn't know what he's doing. I'm never going to do that.
yeah,
And really, it's just part of the process. It's part of learning. Correct?
yeah. I feel like if all it was win, 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 where's the fun in that? I mean, it's like, you got to have those downtimes to reassess what you're doing, and if you need to pivot a certain way, if things aren't working, it's those moments in time and those small failures that help you decide the route to go. So I think those failures are so important. When I don't land a booking, I always look at, all right, what was it that I didn't do? How did I miss this? Or was there something else I could have done?
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's a learning opportunity. It's not a failure if you don't let it be a failure. You move on from it, right? Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
I don't know who coined the term, but that term, the term fail forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I've heard that a lot in circles, and I always think to myself, man, that makes sense.
Fail
Yeah.
forward.
Absolutely. I just heard someone else yesterday say, that there's nothing more instructional than running into a brick wall. It's like when you hit that wall, like, this is not the way to go, and you have to reevaluate and figure out what's
Yeah.
next,
Well, and I think, Joe, one thing that on that question, Marcus, when I posed that question, I also, one question I guess that I had, and I just want to get your opinion on this, Joe. What, do you think that entrepreneurs are made, or in other words, you're either built to be an entrepreneur, and if you're not built to be an entrepreneur, can you be made to be one?
Yeah, I think there's a certain that's an very interesting point of view there. Let me close this window really quick. There's like somebody screwing something down there. Very interesting point. I think that can be answered with both. I think there definitely are personalities that are built for this, that know fear, risk it all type of personality for sure. And then there are those that make strategic moves and are careful. And those could be great entrepreneurs as well. And it's learning through, like, a lot of the things that I've done, I didn't have any experience with it. I'm telling you this, but I wouldn't tell everybody this, is you know, my first wedding, I had probably 10 hours of experience into that wedding 5 years ago. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
Now that's not to say I didn't have stage experience, so I knew I could do it. I was confident that I could address an audience and stuff like that. And I did rehearse some of those things, but you don't necessarily need to know the whole thing. You don't need to know it from start to finish to start something. You just got to start it, right? You got to start it and work through those little failures to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great
I say better done than perfect, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can't start nothing without starting it. Is there?
Well, to elaborate on that, now, have you always owned your own business, or did you used to solely work for someone else?
So my first kind of, I'd call it pilot, was I started a DJ business with a funder, so somebody that helped me fund the business early on, and it was a partnership. And if I had any, so if how do I say this? If I had any advice that wasn't really accepted by everybody as a whole, it would be partnerships are dangerous. You know, they're, in my experience, in my position, and again, it was one of the things that I wish I could have done differently. But I learned through it, and it was awesome. The experience was great. But one of the main reasons why small businesses fail, one of the big ones, is partnerships. And, you know, if they're not well thought out and well planned out before, you got holes that'll just, you know, tear up the whole thing. So it was a partnership in that I was funded, and the business was 50-50. It didn't work out, so I ended up walking away and just starting my own business.
But you learned a lot from that.
Oh, a ton.
Absolutely.
I learned a ton. And you know, I wish I would have done things differently in that partnership for it to work. Because it could have been really successful. But, you know, my plan for my life was to go this way.
Right. I've been through similar situations, and where I wish, you know, after the fact you learn things, and like I wish I would have done them that way, but that's to move forward with the information to improve your life with. So I think that's also one of the core things that I believe about this group. As I've gained experience, I've seen all these entrepreneurs doing their own thing in their own silo, and they're either afraid, or because of society or whatever, they don't reach out to others for help the way that I think we could. And there's so much power in the combination of support. And it doesn't even have to be a partnership. It can just be people helping people. And that's what I'm hoping that our group and folks like you can, you know, help do.
This is great. I really appreciate this, and I'm looking forward to seeing this grow, and what else you can prop up here. This is great.
Absolutely. We absolutely appreciate your time. It's an incredibly inspiring story. I'm just glad to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah,
Awesome.
same here.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. Doc, you got anything else that you want to add?
No, I think we should let Joe head on out, get some beach time.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Guys.
dude, I loved it. The story was great, very inspiring, and I hope more people, you know, avail themselves of your story and learn something from it, listen to it, and take it to heart, man. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, and I will say, you know, if anybody wants to get a hold of me for anything that we've talked about, you know, if you can put some links in there, you know, wherever you put this out. But, you know, Sober Bloomington is actively looking for clients, and you know, we're here to help.
And what is the is that, do you have like your own website for Sober Bloomington, or what is?
There's a Facebook page.
Okay.
Yep. So just, you know, look up Sober Bloomington.
Cool.
We're not incredibly active with marketing that, just because it's a solo project, and I can only take on so much. So
Oh,
uh,
totally understand. And then
yeah.
also that people can reach you at palmaentertainment.com. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, palma-entertainment.com. And then you know, the number works so people can call and
Excellent.
you know,
And
it's a
Style and
personal.
Stereo also. Style and
Yeah,
Stereo
so
band.
Style and Stereo Band, and all that is on Facebook and whatnot. And
Excellent.
we'll be active next spring for sure. We have 3 weddings coming up. We have a New Year's Eve wedding, and we
Wow.
have the Christmas show, and we have some stuff in January. So we'll do about a few public shows a year, but mostly we're a private event wedding type of group. So
Very cool, man.
yeah,
That's so awesome.
yeah, it's awesome. It is.
Well, we'll definitely post the links up with the video. And again, thank you very much. I've learned a lot and super inspiring.
Well, thank you both for having me on your show. This is awesome.
All right, guys. All right, you take
Very
care.
good.
Enjoy the
Joe.
beach.
Peace.